Peru News Today. All you need to know about Peru.
The cycle is over. Juan Reynoso will no longer be the coach of the Peruvian national team. In the Peruvian Football Federation, the position remains firm that Juan Reynoso has reached the end of his cycle in charge of the Peruvian national team, but the coach considers he is capable of reversing the team's situation in the qualifiers. Juan Reynoso will not continue to command the Peruvian national team. In the qualifiers, it could only get 2 points out of a possible 18. The Peruvian national team has been going through one of the worst crises in recent years. Last in the standings of the South American qualifiers with 2 units, the bicolor is not the same one that qualified for the 2018 World Cup in Russia and that played the playoffs for the Qatar World Cup. One of the main people singled out for the poor results is Juan Reynoso. The Peruvian coach took command of the Blanquirroja after the departure of Ricardo Gareca, and the team began to plummet. Only in 2023, they won 1 game, lost 6 and tied 3, results that, after the 1-1 draw with Venezuela, made the project unsustainable. The former coach of Universitario de Deportes and Cruz Azul will not continue to command the Peruvian national team. According to information collected, Juan Carlos Oblitas recommended to the board of directors of the Peruvian Football Federation, FPF, the departure of Juan Reynoso and that the proposal will be accepted. In addition, it was learned that the bicolor legal area is already working on the separation of the strategist. In this way, a cycle that began in August 2022 is completed, when Peru fell 1-0 to Mexico in a friendly match played in the United States. No one contacted me. Hours before the news became known, Juan Reynoso indicated that he maintained his position of remaining in office and that no one had contacted him about a possible departure. I still think the same. It's time to speculate and I respect everyone's opinions. The other thing, continuity of the project, an analysis of all the people involved will come. Yes, ideal coach from Peru. If you want, the answer is yes. I'm sure of that, he said at first. It would be good if you asked Juan Carlos. To be honest, I don't know anything. He hasn't told me anything. I saw him before the game. At the end of the game. I'm surprised because if it told Ligue 1, it would tell me. The locker room should have said it, but I want to think that it is a situation that is not real. I want to think about it, he added. Juan Reynoso's numbers in command of the Peruvian national team. The bicolor's first match, as we have already mentioned, was in August 2022, in the 1-0 defeat against Mexico. After that, Peru entered a positive streak, winning its next 3 matches, 4-1 against El Salvador, 1-0 against Paraguay and 1-0 against Bolivia. But, 2023 turned out to be complicated for Juan Reynoso. In the first match of the year, against Germany, Peru lost 2-0, leaving a bad image. 3 days later, he played his second match, this time against Morocco. This match, played in Madrid, ended 0-0, but the Blanquirroja only dedicated themselves to defending and attacked little or not at all. The other 2 games in the month of June, in the so-called Asian Tour. In the first match, they surprised South Korea by beating them 1-0, but fell in the second match against Japan 4-1. The other 6 games were for the South American qualifiers. In the first, they tied with Paraguay 0-0 as a visitor, revealing the poor performance they were going to have in the next matches. In the second, they lost to Brazil 1-0 with a goal from Marquinhos in the last minute. In the third qualifying match, they lost 2-0 to Chile, in one of the worst matches of the Juan Reynoso era. And against Argentina, they also lost 2-0, with an inspired Lionel Messi. On that de 5 and 6, Peru faced Bolivia and Venezuela. In La Paz, in another match to forget, they lost 2-0. And against Venezuela in Lima, they tied 1-1, in a match where some improvements were seen, but it was not enough. It is important to note that the evaluation of decisions is now without the fever of the party, but the position remains the same. This Wednesday a meeting was held at the Videna facilities between the president of the Peruvian Football Federation, Agustín Lozano, and the director of football Juan Carlos Oblitas, were the topic of Juan Reynoso's future as coach of the Peruvian national team. At the meeting, The position that San Luis has already decided that Juan Reynoso should not continue in command of the bicolor was ratified, this after the results obtained in the first 6 days of the 2026 South American qualifiers, where Peru is last without registering wins. The idea of ending the Reynoso cycle had already existed since the defeat in La Paz against Bolivia, 2-0, which was finally strengthened with the draw in Lima against Venezuela. Subscribe and follow us on our social networks, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram and TikTok.
Peru News Today. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram.